Okay, so now we're going to start teaching your horse to be better at leading, and with these exercises, he'll also learn to load better and stand better for your vet, as well as just be better mannered when you're around him. We're just going to cover briefly the equipment that we're going to use, which is going to be a well-fitting bridle, preferably with a throat latch and a brow band so the bridle cannot slip over his head. We're going to use a full cheek snaffle so that when we apply pressure on the offside, the pressure gets distributed over the entire side of the horse's face instead of just one point. We're also going to use 8-foot continuous round rope reins, as rubber leather reins, flat leather reins are hard to hold on to and they get slippery, and nylon reins can burn your hands. We're also going to use leg protection on the horse on all 4 feet, including bell boots on the front, because we don't want our horses getting hurt, because when they get hurt we have to quit training, and pain is a distraction, and so we're trying to keep our distraction to a minimum as we work with our horses. And we're going to start out by teaching our horse to give to the pressure of the rein, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to start out, we're going to put our hand about 4 inches away from the bit and take the slack out of the rein and apply pressure, and we're going to wait until the horse brings his head back toward us and puts slack in the rein, right there and right there. And we're going to continue in a cycle until the horse leaves his head to the side, right about here. And when your horse is softening up and leaving his head to the side, then we'll switch sides and teach it on the other side. Once we have the horse starting to think about softening to the bridle here, then we're going to go ahead and go to the go forward cue, which is going to help with leading. Okay, now to start out with the go forward cue, you're going to want to find yourself a safe enclosure like a round pen or anywhere where there's no sharp edges where the horse can get hurt. And we're going to place the horse up against the rail, and we're going to ask the horse to soften. And then we're going to apply the go forward cue, which is right at the hip, a tap at the hip. As soon as the horse's feet start moving, we quit tapping. When the horse stops, we pet him, and we ask again. Again, you tap right at the hip. As soon as the feet start moving, we quit tapping. And we'll keep applying the aid, or the cue, until the horse continues to walk on by himself. We also want to continue on until where we don't have to actually touch the horse's hip, that we just point to the hip and he walks forward. When we have the horse moving consistently, then we're going to switch sides. Okay, now that we have the horse consistently walking forward, we need a way to stop him. So now we're going to start teaching him to stop by shutting his engine off, which is his hip. And the way we do that is teach the horse to disengage his hip and stop driving with his hip. So again, we apply the go forward cue. And then we're going to take the hand and bring his nose toward his hip. And when his front shoulder stops, he takes 2 steps with the back and he's quit. We pet him, ask him to go forward, and again we're going to take the rein and we're going to bring his nose toward his hip, watch this shoulder stop, and his hip take 2 steps. And that's how we're going to teach him to stop. Again, go forward. Bring the horse's nose toward his hip. The shoulder stops. And 2 steps with the hind end. If the horse stops on the back end before he gets the 2 steps, then all we're going to do is we're going to ask him to finish. We're not going to release the rein to him, and we're going to cue the hip and ask him to take that second step, and then we'll release him and pet him. Again, on all these exercises, when the horse finishes the exercise correctly, we're going to release the rein to him. And then we're going to move to when he has one side consistent, then we're going to move to the other. Okay, now this next exercise, if you have a horse that crowds you and gets in your way, you may have to go ahead and teach this exercise before disengaging the hip if you find that when you ask the horse to go forward that he's stepping into your space. And what this exercise is going to teach the horse to step away from us. And we're going to do that. We're going to ask the horse to soften up. And we're going to again hold the rein about 4 inches from the bit. Ask him to soften, apply the go forward cue, and then we're going to pick up and bring the rein halfway up the horse's neck and lift right here and ask that shoulder to move away from us. Now your horse is probably only going to take 1 or 2 small steps, and that's all we need right now. But you want to keep working this exercise again until you can get several successive steps. So again, ask the horse to soften up, go forward, bring the rein halfway down the horse's neck and lift straight up. And the horse steps over, crossing in front, always forward. If the horse steps back, apply the go forward cue and have him move forward again. Again, on this one, this exercise, because of the amount of muscles the horse has to use in his neck, on this exercise we're actually going to switch sides more often than the other sides to make sure we don't get them sore. So you switch sides and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to apply go forward, bring the rein halfway down the horse's neck, lift up, and ask him to move that shoulder away from us. And then to stop him, again, take the head to the hip and have him disengage his hip. And like I said, if you have a horse that's crowding your space, then you may want to go ahead and go to this exercise first to keep him off your shoulders. And what we'll find then, once we have taught this lesson, that now when I ask this horse to step forward, his first step with this front leg is going to be away from me. And that's exactly what we want. We don't want the horse stepping into us. Okay, now if you have a horse that likes to charge in front of you when you're leading him, this exercise is going to help with this, and it's also going to help with the horse that lags behind. What we're going to teach the horse is where his place is right by our shoulder. And so we're going to give him 2 corrections, or actually we're going to set up 2 exercises to help teach the horse that his place is right here by our shoulder. We're going to start out by asking the horse to back up. And we're not going to use the rein. We want the horse to back up and stay behind us and stay there by his own accord. So we'll show the horse the whip, ask him to back up, pet him, show the horse the whip, have him back up. And he's going to start getting further and further behind us, and that's okay. Show the horse the whip. Have him back up. We want the horse to get to where we back up, he backs up. When he's good with that and he's staying back and he'll back up with us, then we'll go ahead and we'll apply the go forward cue from the leading position and ask him to go forward. Now if your horse jumps ahead of you, just stay with him for this part, because that's what you're asking him to do, is go forward. So we want the horse to go forward, and we're going to stay with him, and then we're going to stop. If he doesn't stop, then we're going to show him the whip and back up, and then pet him. If your horse goes forward and you stop and he doesn't, and he starts to come around, you're just going to show him the whip up here till he backs up back where he's supposed to be, and then stop. If your horse gets to lagging too much, you're going to come back here where he is. Don't pull him forward with the rein. You're going to come back to the shoulder and apply the go forward cue and have him hurry up. He's going to get ahead of you, so stay with him. Then ask him to stop. Show him the whip and have him back up. Go forward. When your horse will stay at your shoulder going forward and backing up, we're going to ask him to back himself up whenever we stop. So we're going to go forward, stop, and we want him to back up and place himself back where he belongs. Go forward, bring him up. If your horse won't back up when you ask him, the succession of the cue, show him the whip, tap the ground. If he still won't back up, tap his front legs. You never want to tap above the knees, down here on his boots. We just want him to back up. If we strike him up in here, then he might rear, and we're not trying to get him to rear, we want him to back up. So again, go forward, stop. Right there, we want the horse to back up and put himself where he belongs. Go forward. Right there, good boy. And then we can also test how well our horse is paying attention. If we lean, the horse should lean with us, showing that he understands and he's following our body, and we're not having to pull him. We're not pulling him by the rein. He's following us. He's following our body. The next cue we're going to teach the horse is the head down cue, and this is really good for the horse that doesn't want to be bridled and haltered or is fearful, so that we have a way to shut off his fear. When the horse's head is high, when he's afraid, his head's going to be high, and when they're calm, their head is low. So we're going to teach them the cue to bring their head down, one to help us with haltering and bridling, and also for the horse that's fearful to help calm them down. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to take the rein, and we're just going to apply pressure until the head goes the direction we want it to go, and then we're going to release the pressure and release the pressure and release the pressure until the horse learns to keep his head down there. When you're teaching your horse, his head may go all the way up and come down just a little bit, so you want to be patient with your horse and continually, as soon as you see the tips of his ears move down, release the pressure and then apply it again. Release, 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 until you can get your horse to put his head all the way down. Now, for bridling, this is obviously very helpful. What we're also going to do is we're going to teach the horse to lower his head to our hand pressure here. Yes, we are. So what we do is we put our hand up here and apply the pressure the same way. Just push, don't push down on him, just a slight bit of pressure until the horse's head goes down. Then we're going to release, down, release, down, release, and release, and release. And that way the horse learns to move his head down to the pressure that crossed his poll. This will also help with a horse that pulls back when he's tied, because he's learning to release to this pressure across the poll instead of fighting it. And so when we have a horse that leads and he gets really afraid and he's got his head up in the air, now all we have to do is we just have to ask him to bring his head back down, which will help calm him down and make him more controllable.